when you say KD was like, let me show you what I could do with some all-stars and went to Golden State, he been had all-stars. He had plenty of all-stars throughout his career and couldn't get it done. He went to a place where there was another MVP. If you have two MVP caliber players, not someone who once won the MVP awards, not operating on that level anymore, but both of you are MVP caliber year in and year out, that team, in the absence of another team like that, is going to win the championship almost every year in NBA history. That's how it works. We're two MVP caliber players on the same team. It just happened this year with LeBron and AD. Okay, let's start there. He went to Golden State, already a 73-win team, already an MVP caliber player with Steph Curry. They added another MVP. It was a wrap after that. That doesn't prove a whole lot. We already know that Kevin Durant can really play. Here's the issue, Stephen A. You say his game isn't predicated on athleticism as much as some other guys. He can shoot. He's smooth. Matter of fact, he can pass nowadays. All those things. He can average 25 in his sleep, and I agree with that. But that's already being a little bit slick with the language, Stephen A. Averaging 25 in his sleep and being able to do a lot of great things offensively still, and still being an all-star. I see Kevin Durant being able to do that, yes. That's not just KD. KD's not just an all-star who can average 25. KD is an all-time great. Because then 7 feet with his 7'6" wingspan, because he can shoot, defend, he can now also pass, he can drive, he is an unstoppable kind of offensive player. I think the odds say that he will be somewhat diminished from that coming back from an Achilles. Still an all-star, but not an MVP. If you start to think of him, instead of a KD-level player, as more of a Paul George-level player, I know it's a little controversial the way he just played in the playoffs, but you know what I mean. An all-star, but not an MVP. And now you think of the Nets, it's not the same thing. Kyrie with another good all-star, but not an MVP caliber player, that means that team has no players like that. So that's what I'm trying to say. It may be subtle, but you can anticipate some diminishing of KD's value as a player. If he doesn't do that, if he winds up like Breonna Stewart, power to him. He will have upset the odds, as Tom Brady did, defying the cliff. But those are the odds. He's up
but what are you saying? Is he going to upset the odds or not?
Being 100% of himself.
Is he going to upset the odds or not?
I don't think he will.
Okay, I think he will.
I don't think he will. I agree with you. He'll be an all-star, but I don't know that he'll be an MVP.
And let me tell you something else too. Not only do I think he will, I think it's going to be because he has to. Let's be very clear about something here. Kyrie Irving wouldn't be in Brooklyn if it were not for KD.
Yeah.
Brooklyn didn't want Kyrie. They didn't want Kyrie. They wanted KD, and they were willing to accept Kyrie because it was a package deal. They could slice it any damn way they want. I'm telling you what I know. It's a package deal. And we all know that Kyrie is box office and this dude is spectacular. But in terms of what they were building, it worked with KD. And it would not have necessarily worked if it was just Kyrie. That's not what Brooklyn wanted. So it was definitely a package deal. We all understand that. In the end, they've talked. They're both champions, but they ain't LeBron at this moment in time. LeBron will be waiting for them, and they have to answer the call. That's the story about KD. Not whether or not he's going to still look the same.
Yeah, one last thing. Supporting cast, Max, or say what you want to say. I'm just wondering who actually has the better team here when we're talking about the Lakers or the Nets. Outside of the
Nets
superstars.
Got a damn good team.
I'd say the Nets are deeper in terms of all-star caliber players. But the Lakers have two MVP caliber players, and the Nets really have none if KD is diminished. I want to say one last thing about this, Stephen A. If you would have asked me before Ali fought George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle, who do I think he was going to do it? I'd have said no, I'm sure, where I was 1 year old at the time. But he was a 5-1 underdog. The odds were against it because he'd been forced into exile for 4 years and was physically diminished. But because of that, and he pulled off the upset, he did the seemingly impossible, he's the greatest, right? I've always thought, and I said, you remember, before he played on that bad Achilles, which they were calling a calf, and you were saying it's not going to affect his money anyway. I said, yeah, but it's going to affect the rest of his prime. He should not be playing. He chose to play. His Achilles ruptured. His prime may very well be affected going forward. But there is an opportunity there. Because if KD can come back from this and win a championship in Brooklyn, it will be his greatest accomplishment, and he will elevate himself into the all-time great talk with obviously Michael Jordan and LeBron James and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and the like. So he has a chance to have his greatest moment if he's not as good as he used to be, in fact.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.